I'm Kendall with Loves Llama Creations, and today we're going to be making this adorable little penguin! This is a beginner-friendly pattern. This video is going to cover everything you need to know. But just so you know, I do use clips from other videos and other projects, and I stitch them together to make this penguin-specific video. So you might hear me saying things like bee and bird, but just so you know, just follow along with the body in gray. All the other accessories are specific to the penguin. Peanut is also here helping me today with this tutorial. The supplies you're going to need are medium weight for yarn in gray, white, yellow, and blue. You're also going to need 10mm safety eyes, a 5mm crochet hook, stuffing, stitch markers, tapestry needle, and scissors. If you're a beginner crocheter, I highly recommend checking out my Learn to Crochet kits. The kits come with everything you need to learn how to crochet. All you need is scissors. It even comes with a full written pattern and pictures to make it as easy as possible for you to learn how to crochet. I also have a magic ring guide, which is my tool that I invented to help you make the magic ring. It's great for beginners who are really struggling with initially starting your projects. It just takes all the hard parts out of making the magic ring. All right, let's jump into the tutorial. I'm going to take my crochet hook. I have my yarn. This is our tail, our dead end, the end of your yarn. This is the yarn that's attached to the ball or the skein. You're going to take it and wrap it around your hand to form an X. You're going to hold it in the middle. Hook goes under, then over, and we're going to scoop this underneath. Just like that. We're going to twist it up and pull it off our hands. And then do this thing called a chain, which is when we pull our yarn through our loop. So I'm going to put the yarn on the crochet hook and pull through. And that's our magic ring. But let me show you again. I have my tail, wrap around to make an X, hold in the middle, under, over, pull through, twist up, and then do our chain. We're then going to make 6 single crochets in this loop. Our single crochets are one of the smallest, most basic stitches of crochet. You'll find it in tons of the stuffed animal or amigurumi patterns. Crocheters love single crochets. To do one, you're going to insert your hook in the middle of the loop, yarn over, which is when we place the yarn on top of the hook, pull through. So we have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops. And that's 1 single crochet. So again, I'm going to go through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that's a second. Through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That was stitch 3. So I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. Each stitch is this little V, a little oval. Can't see it too well on the sides. If I pull it apart a little bit, you can see that's a stitch. I'm going to take my tail and pull it so that it actually forms this cute little ring. And now we have the start of our crochet piece. These are our stitch markers, which are like little clothespin, safety pin looking things. Safety pins, not clothespins. Looking things. We're going to attach it into the last stitch that we made, that V. Close it up. This is going to help us find the beginning and the end when we're working in our rounds. because we're going to be working in a spiral, so we're just going to keep on going around and around and around. So this will make sure we know the beginning and the end of each round. Our magic ring with the 6 single crochets, that was 1 round. So now we're going on to round 2, which according to our pattern says increase 6 times. An increase is just 2 single crochets next to each other. So we have 6 stitches. At the end of round 2, we should have 12. So we're going to put 2 stitches in each of the 6, so that we have 12. So we're just doubling it. I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch that we made. The first one's always a little tight. It's not you, it's the crochet piece. Just kind of wiggle, stick it in. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through again. So I have 1 single crochet. Before we move on, I'm going to stick my crochet hook in the same stitch and do another single crochet. So now we have 2 in 1 stitch. I like to picture it like a little flower, so we have like a small beginning, but then we want even petals on the side, so it kind of gets bigger evenly. I'm going to move to the next stitch. Again, I'm working in a spiral, so I'm literally just scooting over and do another increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then in the same hole, doing a second. And then I'll do that again. And again. Moving over. I'm in my last one, and this is my cat Cashew. He likes to help with videos sometimes. I'm sure his sister Peanut's gonna help too. I'm gonna take out my stitch marker. I'm gonna do our increase. And then I'm going to put the stitch marker back in to the new end of the round. So we're kind of moving it up each time. And now we have this small little circle, which is round 1 and round 2. You should have 12 single crochets at the end of this round. And you can count them by looking at those V's. Grab my tapestry needle. So like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this all the way around, so you have 12. The next round, round 3, it says we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. And there's a comma in that bracket, which is important. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we're done with that. In the next stitch, that comma means we're moving over. We're going to be doing an increase, which is again those 2 single crochets. So this repetition for the round is a little series of 3. 1 and then an increase. Or in my head sometimes I'll say double. So 1 and then a double. And we're going to repeat this. So the next stitch we're going to do 1. And then the next stitch a double or an increase. And we're going to do this for the whole round. So 1 and then a double. One, then a double. And I know I'm crocheting fast. Hey, I've done it since I was 14 years old. Don't forget, 1, pause this video. I will still be here for you. As well as that in the corner, the little gears button, you can change the speed. So yeah, I'll sound a little funny, but you can watch me slow down these stitches and it might be a little easier. You can see at the end, I removed my stitch marker, did my last increase, and then I'm going to put it back. And our circle's getting a little rounder, a little bigger. You can tell it kind of curls up a little bit. That's okay. That's normal. No biggie. If it's curling up a lot, you might have messed up the pattern a little bit. You might have put too many increases. So you might want to take it out and kind of make sure you're counting. At the end of this row, you should have 18. Another thing to remember, this is our tail from that very beginning magic ring. This is the inside. So if you're looking at it and you're like, mine's kind of ugly. My stitches aren't clean. This tail's in the way. What am I doing? Boop. Just turn it around. If you followed my tutorial for my crochet plants, a lot of people will show me their crocheted pot and they'll be like, hey, mine's ugly and it doesn't sit weird and it sits super weird and it's off. And then I'm like, flip it inside out. Boom. They did amazing work and they did it right. You just gotta flip it around. Next round, you're gonna start seeing a pattern here. It says 2 single crochets and then an increase. So single crochet 2 is different than an increase. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. In newer crochet patterns, as in the past 10 years, you'll notice the word increase. Sometimes people use 2 single crochets instead. I find that confusing. If you follow any Lousy Llama crochet patterns, I will always say increase versus single crochet 2. If I'm saying single crochet 2, I mean 1 and then 1 and then an increase. Well, let's not get confusing here. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. One, 1, and then an increase. And we'll do this for the whole round. One, 1, increase. One, 1, increase. 1, 1, take out the marker, increase. And then put it back in. And now we have a bigger circle. Again, you can see mine curving a little bit. That's okay. Okay, I'm at the end of the round. And now instead of doing more increases, we're going to do rounds of single crochets. So a little tip, instead of putting this through the stitch like we normally do, I'm actually going to put it on the side of the stitch. That way we don't have to move it every single round. This works when we're doing 1 single crochet in every stitch. Not so much when you're doing something precise like 2 single crochets and then an increase, because you want that to be really exact. But for this, it's okay if it's not. We're not going to do any increases. We're going to do 4 rounds of single crochet. So you're literally just going to do 1 single crochet in every single stitch. We'll do this for 4 rounds. But I'll show you when we get around to the stitch marker how we're kind of ignoring it and continuing on. This also works because we're crocheting in a spiral instead of joining for each round. We just continuously keep on working. All right, coming around, I'm not going to move my stitch marker. I'm just continuing to crochet. See? And now I can see I did 1. I'm going to go around 4 times and it kind of lines up with the stitch marker. So go ahead and single crochet for 4 rounds. See, I kind of lined it up with the stitch marker. Now I'm going to take this out and put it back in our stitch because our next round is going to be more precise like we did earlier. The next round is going to be 3 single crochets and then an increase. So similar to the 2 single crochets and then increase, but with 3. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then an increase, and we'll repeat that for a total of 6 times all the way around. 1, 2, 3, increase, 2, 3, increase, I also want to take a note here, if my piece looks bigger than yours, I'm using some spare yarn I have, which I believe is a little different than the yarn you have in your kits. This yarn is feeling very stiff today, I'm not exactly sure why. But if you're like, mine's coming out smaller, don't worry, that's completely normal. This is just really stiff today. Okay, coming around the end, taking out our marker, doing the last increase. Yeah, you look so big. My sample was not this big. Now I'm gonna put my stitch marker on the side again, because we're gonna be doing more rounds of single crochet if I can get it. We are gonna do, so you're gonna go around for 10 rounds of single crochet, placing 1 single crochet in every stitch for a total of 10 rounds. Now you can see our piece is starting to actually look like a bird, or at least a blob, which I think birds look like. We're gonna add our eyes. So I'm just gonna set my hook aside just so it's out of the way. I have my 8mm safety eyes and backs. 1, oh my goodness, 2. We're gonna place them between rounds 6 and 7, about 6 stitches apart. And sort of wiggled in. There we go. Now I'm gonna put my backs on. I put my little washers on and click. Washers on and click. Push it back out. Now we gotta finish sewing the body and doing our decreases. So an increase is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So if you can imagine, a decrease is combining 2 single crochets into 1, or 2 any stitches, but for this project it's going to be single crochets. Move my stitch marker back up because we want to be exact again. We're going to repeat the same thing backwards. So our last round of increases was 3 single crochets increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets decrease. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. For a decrease, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, kind of like the beginning of a single crochet. Instead of finishing it off, I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch next to it. Yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Because you're combining 2 stitches, you'll want to make sure you pull a little extra tight when you're making it, just because you're literally pulling your crochet piece closer together. And if they're loose, you'll see the stuffing. So I'll do my 3 single crochets again. 1, 2, 3, and then decrease, insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. And you're going to repeat this for the round. So 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, and then our very last decrease. for the round. The next round is going to be 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, decrease, all the way around, pulling nice and tight. 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, and 1, 2, taking out our marker, decrease. Next round is probably what you would have guessed, 1 single crochet and then a decrease. I know it's getting tight, it's getting stiff, but you are physically pulling your piece together, so hang in there, it's okay. This takes a little bit getting used to. 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Decreases was something that took me a little bit to master as a beginner. They used to be really loose, so you can like see all my stuffing. It takes a lot to like remember to tighten your tension and do things a little differently. That's okay. One of the cool parts about this project is that the decreases are on the bottom. So if your top is pretty, no one's really gonna see the bottom, especially if you have it displayed on like a little shelf or something or on your desk. No one really sees it. Okay. 1 more decrease. Okay, we're gonna pause here for a sec and we're actually gonna stuff our little bird. I have my pouch of stuffing. We're not gonna need all of this. The best stuffing technique is to pull apart into small clumps and place it individually. That way you kind of have control over the shape. And it also uses less stuffing. If you just ball the whole thing up, you'll use all the stuffing, but you actually don't really need it, especially if you want it to remain nice and fluffy. So I'm just gonna keep on pulling small clumps. Obviously placing at the head first, because that's further away. And then the body. I want my bird Blitz to be as round as possible. So I'm going to stuff him extra on the sides. I'm also, you can tell when I'm stuffing, I kind of pull my working yarn away. If you stuff it inside, that's fine. You'll just have to pull it out and that might pull out some of the stuffing. So it's just kind of easier if you pull it around before. Okay, he's getting there. It's looking like a little pill or looks like a peep, really, is what it looks like. Well, we don't got peeps here. He is Blitz the bird, so he's gonna have to look like a bird. I'm shaping him, kind of forming his neck a little bit more. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Cute. Yeah, see, this is all the extra stuffing. You'll have extra stuffing. On the bottom, we need to do 6 decreases. The bottom is difficult. The last round of decreases is usually difficult. It's hard to see and you might skip some stitches, and that's okay. We're just gonna try to get 6 decreases. If you don't, that is a-okay. And you'll just close it up a different way. So I'm gonna do 1. I kind of pinch mine, even though we worked so hard on the shaping. We'll fix it at the end, because it's easier for me to get my hook into my stitches. So my second decrease out of 6. 3. Oh yeah, it's tight. 4. 5. think that's all I got right now. I don't think I can fit the 6th one because of how tight it is, and that's okay. The hole's still pretty small. I'm gonna fasten off, so cut that nice long tail, pull our loop through, and we're gonna sew up the bottom. So if your bottom's a little gappy, has some spaces in it, no big deal. You can fix it now. Put my tail on my needle, and you can close the bottom however you want. I like doing it the cinch closure way, which means I'm gonna go in all the stitches on the outside and pull tight. Just like that, and pull. I'm going to add a knot just so it doesn't come undone. Slide my knot all the way to the end. Boom. Now we don't just want to cut our yarn because it can come undone. We're going to do this thing called hiding our tails. With a 3D object like Blitz, it's super easy. My tail's on my tapestry needle. I'm going to poke right through where our tail is. Make sure a couple inches through and poke out anywhere else. Don't pull too tight, you'll change the shape. And then you can cut this off. So now for it to come undone, it's gonna have to come out multiple inches and through the knot and through the fastening off, and that's more unlikely. I'm now gonna crochet this little belly, and I'm gonna show you in this orange just because white's a little hard to see on camera. But we're gonna start the exact same way that we started the top of our penguin. I'm going to go a little quicker here, so if you need to pause the video and go back to the beginning, feel free to do that. I'm going to start with my magic ring, that chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And pull it closed. Again, we're still going to be doing it the exact same way we start the body. So the next round, you're going to be doing 6 increases for a total of 12 single crochets. Remember that those increases are just 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to put my stitch marker back in just so I can start keeping track of the rounds. Beyond 12 is a little hard to keep track in my head. The next round, same as the body, is 1 single crochet and then an increase. So we're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase in the next stitch. We'll do this for the whole round. 1 and then an increase. 1 and then an increase. 1 increase, 1 increase, 1, taking out my marker, and increase. Putting my marker back in because for our last round, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase. Like I said, it's the exact same way to start the body. It's a lot of how I start a lot of my projects, and it's a good even way to make circles around things. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets, so 1 and 2, and then an increase. 1 and 2, then an increase. 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, taking out my marker, increase, and that's the end of the round. To make this belly a little rounder, we're going to add some slip stitches. We're going to add 2 in the next stitches. So we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. I'm going to repeat that in the next stitch. So insert, yarn over, pull through again. And now our little belly is a lot more round. I'm going to cut a nice long tail and fasten off by pulling all the way through. And that's how you make the belly. The beak is super easy and super simple because you've already done it for the other 2 pieces of this project. You're going to do a magic ring, chain 1, and 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull tight, and that's it. Cut a nice long tail for sewing. Fasten off and pull through, and this is our itty bitty little beak. For the wings, they are very similar to the belly, just a little bit smaller. I'm back to my gray yarn. I'm going to do my magic ring, chain 1, 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then pull tight. Next round's going to be 6 increases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to put my stitch marker in for our very last round, which is going to be 1 single crochet, 1 increase. So 1, and then an increase. 1, and an increase. All the way around. Last one, my single crochet, taking out my marker, and then my increase. And like we did the belly, we're going to add those slip stitches just to make this piece a little bit more round. So you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through again, and we have our adorable little wings. Leave that nice long tail. Cut. And fasten off. You're going to want to make 2 of these wings. I'm going to be showing you how to sew on the pieces on this white body. That's actually for my snowman that I'm going to use for a different video a little bit later. But sewing on pieces is the same technique. So I'm going to start with the wings. I have to hide this tail in the back by weaving it in. So because it's flat, it's a little harder to weave in as opposed to our 3D objects where we can just stick it in anywhere. This one's a little different, but we don't just want to cut off our yarn because our piece will come undone. So this is the back side, which has the tail coming out. I'm going to pinch the yarn and wiggle my needle through the back to hide the tail in the back. And I want to do this in 3 different directions. That was 2. And then again, I kind of pinch between my fingers. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I try to go actually between the like fibers of the yarn, just so I know it's extra secure. Pulling it out a little bit so it's not stretched. And then trim. Now we can sew this on because we're going to use the other tail for sewing. I'm going to hold the wing where I want it. I'm only going to sew the top part just because I like having some movement with my pieces. Because I'm starting sewing here, because that's where my tail is, I kind of rotate it to start where I want it. Because you're actually going to be sewing gray on gray, it's not noticeable this stitch. You will notice it on my gray to white, but you're going to go around and around. So from the wing to the body. I guess it's kind of body to wing. I'm moving the same direction. Body to wing. Make sure you're pulling tight. Body to wing. All the way, well, not all the way around. About halfway around. Just if you want to move it, you can sew it completely flat if you want. I like it like that. And then to hide our tail, we poke through the body, go a few inches inside and pull through, and then trim it. And that's how you're sewing the wings. The beak and the belly are a little different. While you can sew it on the same way, if you want your lines to look a little cleaner, you want to do it a little different. The beak is the same as the wing, and because it's so small, you really won't notice any of the lines as long as you're pulling tight. It looks like my seagull right now. But you're going to hold the beak where you want it, and then go body to beak, pull tight, body to beak, body to beak. So it kind of sticks out. If you don't like the way it's kind of pushing, you can also hold it back and do it on the opposite side. Just be careful that your yarn isn't showing. Make sure you're going as tight to the beak as you can. Because then you can weave in your ends. For the beak, I like using both of the tails to do the sewing, just because I like making sure those little pieces are really secure. I just don't usually go all the way around with both. But I kind of pull through. You get a little beak. And again, you trim this off. For the belly, we're going to do a different technique. You can trim this one in the back, just don't trim too close. I leave about an inch. We don't have to, you can weave it in if you want, it's just not necessary because that side is going to be sewn to the body, so you're not going to be able to see it. We're going to hold, I call these little coins because that's what they remind me of. I'm going to hold it right where you want it. We're going to do it a little different. We're going to go belly to body. And then back up through the same stitch of the belly. So belly to body. Back up through the belly. And you're going to do this all the way around. Belly to body. Back up to belly. And as you can tell, it's kind of like a different technique. It's a little cleaner. You can do the same thing for the wings if you want. I just like, depending on like the colors that I'm doing, because this is like white on gray, I want it to be really clean, but the gray on gray just doesn't really matter. But you're gonna finish the belly just like that. And let me show you how to make those adorable little feet. You'll cut a nice long piece of yellow. Put it on your tapestry needle. Ignore that my belly is not sewn on. And you're going to start from the bottom and poke out where you want the feet. I usually line them up with the eyes. And you'll pull through, but leave some yarn on the bottom so that it doesn't come undone. I like to think of my embroidery as drawing, so I always say I need to draw these lines. I want to make it a little bigger because he's got big feet, this little guy. And I just draw or stitch multiple times until I'm happy with the thickness. And then I repeat the same thing on the other side. Now, hopefully yours is significantly more even than mine. I'm not exactly sure why I'm not doing a very good job today, but it does get the job done. When you're happy with it, you'll stick it out through the bottom again. Trim this, and then you'll shove those tails into the body. And this makes sure it won't come undone. Just like that. And now we gotta make his little hat. This hat is super fun because it's actually the exact same way that you make a normal beanie for a human. It's just very small. I have my beautiful blue yarn and I'm going to make a slip knot. Again, I am twisting and pulling through and making a slip knot. I'm going to insert my crochet hook, pointing towards the skein. This is the tail. And we're going to chain 11. A chain is where we're simply going to pull that yarn through the loop. So this is called a yarn over. But you know that from your single crochets. So you yarn over and pull through. That's a chain. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we're going to work into the chains. We have 11 chains, but we're actually only going to make 10 stitches. The chain that you just made right at the end, ignore it. It's going to help us out, but we don't need to stitch into it. You're going to push your hook into that 10th chain you made, not the 11th, and make a single crochet. And you're going to repeat that down the line. So you're going to insert your hook into the chain and make a single crochet. If you followed my practice yarn video that comes with all my crochet kits, this will be very easy for you because it is the exact same thing. If not, I highly recommend practicing making some squares with some extra yarn that you have, just so you can learn all the skills and techniques for crochet. It'll be super easy now that you've finished your penguin. But I'm just going to go down the line, making sure I have 10 stitches. I'm going to count them at the end. It's a little curved, so I think I might have doubled up somewhere. Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. I'm then going to chain 1, that yarn over, pull through, and turn our piece. We're going to keep on doing rows of single crochet, but we're going to be doing them in the back loop only. And that's what's going to give us like this ribbing technique. So normally when you crochet, you go through both loops, the front and the back. For this, you're only going to be going in the back. So we're skipping that chain again. And we're going to go in the back and make a single crochet. You're still working front to back, but just going in the back loop instead of both. And you make your little single crochet in there. all the way down the row. My last one, if your last one's a little tricky to get in the back loop, you can go through both of the loops if that's easier. But you just finished that row, so you're going to chain 1 and turn, and you're going to do this for 22 more rows. Oops, sorry, 22 more rows. Just going in that back loop and making sure you're doing 10 all the way across. If you make sure you're doing 10, your piece won't get smaller or bigger because you're keeping the even amount of stitches. If you do a few more rows or a few less rows, that's okay. It just makes the hat a little bit more snug or a little bit bigger. But you're going to do a total of 24 rows in the back loop only, single crochets. I'll show you how to count after I finish this row because it's super easy peasy, because you can count by 2s because of the ribbing. Because this is the ribbing, it's super easy to tell. This is 2, this is 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, all the way up to 24 total. So go ahead and pause this video and do the rest of the rows. Here is my hat, although it doesn't look like a hat right now. You're going to cut a very long tail because we're going to do a lot of sewing with it. Cut it, fasten off, try not to get tangled like me. We're going to put that nice long tail on our tapestry needle. You're going to fold this in half, and you're going to sew it along these 2 edges to make a tube. You can sew it any way you want. You could do it like the wing, or you can go back and forth. I assure you it doesn't matter because we're actually going to be flipping this inside out, so you really cannot see it. I know the tail's like obnoxiously long right now. That's okay. Besides being a little annoying, it will help us a little bit later. So again, you're just sewing it like a tube. See, my tail's getting so long, it's getting into everything on my desk, but that's okay. My last one. We have a tube, and now we're actually going to be weaving in and out along this top part. We're gonna cinch it closed like a bag, or like the bottom of the penguin. So you're going to weave in and out of the sides and pull the yarn through. In and out, in and out. It doesn't have to be exact, but obviously you want to go in and out the most that you can, because that will just make it a little cleaner. We're going to do this all the way around. Can't even tell where my end is. Oh, it's over there. And then you pull tight so that it pulls the top up. And with the strings, you can tie a knot. And this is the little hat. It's not perfect yet because you need a little folded part, the little brim. So I'm going to move my tail to the end, flip up, where I want it. You can sew it all the way around the brim if you want. You can just do little gaps as long as the gaps of the string are inside the hat. You don't want that on the outside because it will mess up your beautiful work. Because this is so small, you kind of have to keep on fixing the brim until it's all the way around. When you make a human-size hat, the brim usually stays by itself and you don't have to sew it. But because this is just so small, I like to make sure it is sewed down so that my penguin doesn't have to worry about it. See, I messed up there. You want this long piece inside, not on the outside. If I cared about this final project, I would take that stitch out and redo it. But this penguin is absolutely perfect, so I don't need another perfect version. This is totally okay for the video. All right, and that's all the way around. We're now gonna make a little tiny pom-pom. If you have your favorite pom-pom making methods, you can do that. It doesn't matter how you do it, but you are going to cut a piece of white to start with. And we're gonna set that aside. And how I do it is that I wrap around my hand a whole bunch of times. The more you do that, the fluffier your pom-pom can be. See, I am just wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. I'm pulling it off my desk in my lap just so I can do it a little faster and not bump the camera. Boom, just like that. Trim. Place that extra piece of yarn underneath our little bundle and then tie it in the middle. You want to do a square knot and pull like really, really tight. You do not want this to come undone. I even usually flip it around and do one on the other side as well, just because it is really important that it's super tight. Because right now this is all one big piece of yarn. Soon it will not be. It will be a bunch of small pieces. Then you cut the loops so that they're not loops anymore. You want to make sure you cut all the loops. And if you're like, this pom-pom's hideous, gotta wait for it. There's magic about to happen, but it's gonna take a little bit of time. Okay, did I get them all? Oh, I think I did. Pretty good. I'm leaving this tail. I usually leave the second, but I accidentally cut it, so I could tie it to the hat. But first you're gonna trim. And this will just take some time of literally shaping the pom-pom. I recommend using very sharp scissors. If you have like bigger scissors that you use in like the kitchen or something, they're usually really sharp, or fabric scissors. I know it's not fabric, it's yarn, and you shouldn't use fabric scissors on anything else, but because it is just so sharp, they usually do the job very, very well. I hold it by that string underneath just so I don't accidentally cut it again. I'm usually really good about not cutting. I'm surprised I cut it today. But you just continuously go around and around and around, and you trim and you keep on going until it's like, you're like, it's kind of getting smaller and smaller. Yeah, that's what you want. Because you want it to look like this. And when you're finished with that, you literally just tie it onto the hat with the long string. Hopefully you have 2 strings, unlike me. I'm going to tie it to the blue inside so it doesn't go anywhere, but really, please continue trimming it because this is not pretty. This is pretty. Ugly. Then you can just set the hat on top of the penguin. Oh, doesn't it look like it's going to like the Kentucky Derby right now? Like a really fancy hat. Or you still have your blue yarn. I like to just do just a few stitches and do like 1 on the other side and like 1 on the front and call it a day. And then hide the tail, which you're like a master at. So that it looks like this beautiful, see the rim, the brim, it's folded, it's sewed down, this adorable little pom-pom. I should have tied it to the hat again so it's nice and secure. his eyes and his beak and his little arms and legs. And that is how you crochet a penguin. Thank you so much for joining me and Peanut as we made this adorable little penguin. I hope you had a lovely time making him, and I hope he has the cutest name ever, and he's your little winter buddy this year. If you want to stay up to date on everything Lousy Llama, go ahead and follow us at TikTok at Lousy Llama Creations. That's where I post new projects and kits and designs and everything in between. If you enjoyed following this video, if you could please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me grow the channel and continue to make tutorials for everyone. Again, my name is Kendall. This is Peanut, that's Cashew, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.